Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am on my patio in beautiful, sunny Escazú, Costa Rica. And it is Sunday, January 12th of the year 2025. And here we are moving through January of the new year. And I want to remind you that my masterclass from December about 2025 is still available for you to purchase. In fact, it'll be available all year. But you want to get a handle on the year ahead, right? So all the details, all the juice is in that masterclass. It's called 2025 The Liminal Labyrinth. And you can purchase it for $55 from my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, and you can be able to listen and watch everything, the questions I answer, the descriptions I give, everything. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours of discussion about this year. And so this is really actually a great handy tool for you to refer to as you go through the year. You can take notes. You can listen again. Once you own it, you own it. It's yours. So I welcome you to purchase it. Only $55. Go to my website, go to book online, and scroll down, and you'll find it among the list of offerings. Among the other offerings, astrology sessions, expansion mentoring, Reiki, which is lovely. So we have a lot going on this week. I say that every week, don't I? But actually, this is really true. We have a lot going on this week. The first thing I want to address is something that happened yesterday. And what happened yesterday was people were saying, oh, it's the 111 portal. We never had these portals before, like Instagram, or if they were, I wasn't around for them, or I didn't pay attention to them, or I wasn't on the mailing list for portals. But everybody's like, oh, I said it's a special day on Instagram yesterday, and I didn't mean that there was a 111 portal. I meant the nodes changed signs. So let's talk about the nodes, because that happened yesterday, and it is now a different experience. We went from things where the North Node was at 0 degrees Aries, and it went back to 29 Pisces. The nodes travel backwards. The nodes are retrograde. And they are now North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo, and this is a new dynamic. This is a new experience. So we are now looking at what I talked about last week, a lot of faith, a lot of letting go, a lot of not getting hung up on the details. I talked about this on Instagram yesterday. And the nature of this is to putting our faith in the unknown, putting our faith in the realm of all possibilities, all potentialities. If you are not used to this, you're going to cling like mad to Virgo, which is practical expectations, things that we can analyze, things that we can have details about, things we know and are familiar with. But that's not what's going to get us to where we need to go. This is a path of fulfillment and faith, and it is asking us to trust whatever you believe in and have beliefs. Well, if you believe in nothing, you must believe in something. You must believe in Mother Nature, because you can see the seasons change wherever you are, right? So put your faith in Mother Nature. This is an interesting thing because we're moving back to the end of the zodiac. We're moving to North Node in Pisces. This is all about the faith, because remember, Neptune is at the end of Pisces. So over these next weeks and months, we're going to be talking a lot about Neptune and Saturn and how they show up next to that North Node, right? Now, if you are someone who was born when the nodes changed signs, you are having what I call a recurrence. And this is interesting. Now, you might be someone who has the nodes in Pisces and Virgo, North Node, South Node, or maybe even the reverse. That means you're having a nodal return. That is very common. We all get nodal returns. We all get nodal returns at some point, But if you're born on a day when the nodes change signs, that means every year and a half you have a recurrence. Like, I wasn't born on that kind of a day, so I don't get that recurrence. I get the recurrence when the North Node is in Cancer and the South Node's in Capricorn, or the reverse. But, and certainly returns like a Venus return or a solar return, that's a recurrence. But this is a kind of special recurrence because if you're born on a day when the node changes signs, and maybe the day before, the day after, the day of, and especially the day of, then you are going to ring chimes. This is going to resonate to you. And so your experience, and it doesn't matter what sign they're going into. It doesn't matter. They changed. It's like when Pluto, if you're born on the day or the days of Pluto changing signs, or Pluto changes signs in the first couple of years of your life, whenever that happens in the sky, you are going to ring like chimes. And so this is something fascinating that happens in the world of recurrence, which not many people talk about. And it really is important to look at this, okay? And when we look at these things, we look at how we're feeling, what resonates, what stands out to us. And it's great to pay attention to this, because if you do pay attention to it, you're going to get a clue as to what's happening when you are having that nodal shift, okay? It's really something that's a special case, you know. But it's every time. Now, I'm not saying if you have the node in Pisces, and if you were born on a day when the node changed into Pisces, well, then you're really having a big recurrence, right? So if you're born when Pluto changes signs, every time Pluto changes signs, you have a recurrence. You feel it, okay? But it's the fact that it's changing signs or changing direction, retrograde, direct. When you have a node that changes signs or has just changed signs, it's important to recognize the vibration, the frequency that feels like your own, feels like your own authentic energy, feels like you. Now, this is why it's really important to have a very good birth time, because I will give you one such example in the world we know today, and that is a gentleman named Harry Styles, who was born when the nodes changed signs. And he was born on the day that the nodes changed signs. And his Mercury he was born on the day that Mercury changed signs. So this gentleman has a lot of what's just been going on right now. Mercury changed signs the other day on Wednesday of last week, and the nodes changed signs yesterday. So this is someone who resonates to a change in the nodes. Now, this is why I said it's good to have a birth time, because out on the internet, Harry's birth time is what we call dirty data, meaning it's an unverified birth time. And it's got him as Libra rising. And I can tell you from my many years of doing astrology, this guy is not Libra rising. I believe that he's Leo rising. I've seen this written elsewhere too, but there's this unverified time out there that puts it at like 12:06 a.m. on February 1st from 1994. And so this is, I feel, incorrect. And I read somewhere else where said he was born in the afternoon, or his mother also said he wasn't born at that time at 12:08 a.m. Of course, she should remember. But the important thing about this is the incorrect birth time then therefore has nodes in a different sign and Mercury in a different sign. So the birth time that's floating around that is unverified puts his nodes at 0 degrees Sagittarius for the North Node and South Node 0 degrees Gemini. I believe he's Leo rising because he looks like a Leo rising. The rising sign is how we present ourselves to the world, especially physically. So Harry has what I call, for Leo rising, important hair. Okay? He has what I feel is important hair. Plus, he's very Gucci, sequined. That's Leo. That is the presence of Leo rising. He's a performer, and he really is a performer. He's not sort of like meek on stage. Not that all Libra risings are meek, but This is a performer. This is someone who goes all out to perform and wears sparkly, sequined, Gucci, fluffy hair. And remember, when he cut his hair earlier this year, it was all over the internet that his fans were like divided over his hair. That's Leo rising. Okay, now, why is that important? Because Leo rising for this person puts the nodes then in Scorpio and Taurus. So his north node is in Scorpio and his south node is in Taurus, 29 degrees. Now, I believe this is accurate. And indeed, that means also Mercury changed signs. And so his Mercury, they had it in Aquarius. He's a songwriter. He's a singer. He's an artist. Mercury's in Pisces. So Mercury squares the nodes. Doesn't matter what time he's born that day. Mercury is squaring the nodes, which is about his intellect and his voice in the world and his self-expression and karmically tied up in who he is and what he does on this earth. Okay? And I firmly believe his north node is at 29 Scorpio with the south node at 29 Taurus. This puts his north node right with Pluto, which is at 27, almost 28 degrees. Okay? He's having a recurrence. He's feeling it somewhere in his life. It's something that harkens back to the day he was born, to the conditions of how he was born, his birth legend, as we all have. And he stepped into this world with the north node in Scorpio on Pluto. And that Pluto at 27 degrees with the node at 29 degrees Scorpio gives us the understanding that the path for him and the generation he leads with the north node on Pluto in Scorpio, which was not fleeting, it's a whole group of people born in 1994. The path for him and those people is sexuality and healing and transformation. Transformation is the key to fulfillment. Okay, for all of those people born in 1994 that have that aspect. Not so much the people born with the node in Sagittarius in the first month or so of the year, but really from that February 1st onward until the node and Pluto separated, which was probably a long time, they carry the signature of being able to handle anything. They carry the signature of sexuality and healing being the path to fulfillment. And on some level, if they have another personal planet involved in that situation as he does with Mercury, then there is a part of their life that belongs to the collective unconscious, that they are someone who's going to do something bigger than, maybe the rest of their family, maybe the other people they know, but they're going to do something incredible with their life. And so that's important to look at when we have the nodes. When the nodes make aspects to our chart natally, we are in some path of destiny somewhere. When you've got a heavy-duty planet like Pluto on one of the nodes, you are in some frame of the collective unconscious, and at some points your life isn't your own, right? This is an important thing to look at. So for him, and I'll just say this, he's a major Aquarius, which is a fixed sign. The nodes are in fixed signs. And at some point, when he was about 15, 16 years old, his sun progressed from earlier in Aquarius to the point in Aquarius where it squared the nodes and the Pluto. And then eventually went to Mercury, Saturn, etc. But the important thing here is, at that juncture in his life, when he was a teenager, he became an instrument of the collective unconscious. And when we look at, this was not an accident. This is something that is definitely in a person's chart because of their north node, south node relationships also to outer planets. When your progressed sun goes to that space and squares all of that, boom, thank you. You are now internationally famous for whatever reason. Now, not that everybody born then is internationally famous, but they had something going on. It depends on where it is in their chart. But they had something going on that put them in the eye of the collective unconscious. And so these are things that it's important to look at when we are dealing with the nodes, which are points of destiny. They're not planets. They are points of destiny. And I would hope that each of you understands your nodes, and I would hope that each of you has spent time learning about them. People get confused by them. I know when I was a baby astrologer, I didn't really understand them very well, and I came to understand them on a very deep level when I took my first class with Michael Luton, because that was the class we took, and he was really an expert on the nodes, and he wrote a book on the nodes and all. But I feel that they are so powerful in our chart, and a lot of times they get ignored, and they are really underappreciated, undervalued. It's an important thing to look at your nodes. It's an important thing when you have a node reversal, a node return, nodes squaring nodes. The nodes in the sky are squaring your nodes. This is, a place of fulfillment and healing. It's a place of moving away from what is old news for us, where the old habits die hard. It's where we move away from the thing that drives us crazy. That's the South Node. And we embrace the fulfillment. Okay? Look at your nodes. Look at where the nodes are. If you need help with this, certainly contact me and we'll do a session. Very important. Okay, moving from yesterday to tomorrow. Tomorrow there's a full moon. And it is at 24 degrees of Cancer. And this is the full moon that we have every year when the sun is in Capricorn. And it's so important to look at this because this is the first time we are having this without Pluto in Capricorn. So no more Pluto in Capricorn. Now we have a freewheeling full moon in Cancer. And there is not this, oh my God, it's with Pluto feeling. You might get that towards the new moon, but the new moon is really going to be after where Pluto is. So it's important to embrace this full moon if you have some planets in Capricorn, Cancer, or Aries or Libra. And also, if you have things around 8, 9, 10 mutable, like me, this is a full moon that triggers those planets. So you want to be aware of that. If you're like, why is this full moon making me crazy? Why can't I sleep tonight? It's your planets at 9, 10 mutable. So even if you don't have a planet at 24 degrees of cardinal, it's okay. You may still get triggered. Be aware of that. Okay, so that's something that's happening tomorrow. The full moon happens at 5:27 p.m. Eastern Time. The sun trines Uranus at 3:13 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's Eastern Time again. And that is something very flowing, good, very creative, and maybe embrace surprises or the unexpected in a very nice way. It's a flowing trine. It's nice. It's lively. It gives us energy. You may have more energy tomorrow than you normally do. That's okay. It's good. And so just embrace that. Be grateful for it. I've got energy today, and, use it creatively. The other thing that's happening then is Tuesday, the 14th, we have the Venus in Pisces squaring Jupiter in Gemini aspect. Now, remember that we've recently had Jupiter square Saturn, and so Venus is moving into the realm of in between Jupiter and Saturn. So she's making the challenging aspect to Jupiter, which is great because they're both benefic planets. It's opening the door. It's stretching us to another level. We're experiencing expansion. It might be a little uncomfortable. That's okay. It's an expansion. It's a very good opening. But then later this week, it's a Venus-Saturn week. As we speak, Venus is already approaching Saturn. And so this is something really important because Venus conjuncts Saturn at 8:28 p.m. Saturday the 18th. And this is going to happen again. They're in Pisces. Venus is coming back to Saturn in mid-April, when she makes the station direct. She's going to be sitting on Saturn in Pisces, but Saturn's going to be much further on in Pisces by that time. And she's going to sit with Saturn as she's approaching Saturn backwards, sits on Saturn, keeps going backwards, turns around, comes back over, sitting with Saturn for like a week. So this is not comfortable. And so we can get a piece of the story Saturday the 18th when we start looking at what our relationships are telling us, what maybe our financial system is telling us, what our experiences of other people just in general, whether they're like close personal friends or whether they're intimate relationships or just people you see in passing. This is a hard one for people. People feel unloved with Venus Saturn. This isn't something that's comfortable, and it's not Venus Jupiter. We're getting Venus Jupiter the day after tomorrow, but it slowly moves from that expansive, wonderful feeling to, oh my God, what's happening to me? Why do I feel down in the dumps? I felt good the other day. Where did it go? Venus is navigating between expansion and contraction. This is a time when you give yourself a lot of self-care, self-love, self-nurture, and reach out to nurture others, people that you might know that are going through a rough time. It's important to reach out to people and let them know that you're a strong, steady force, that's Saturn, in their life and your support system. Maybe it's a time to find someone who's supportive of you, maybe to recognize and be grateful for someone who's supportive of you and where you can be supportive of other people. This is a story. We're going to see more about this in April. If you feel challenged during this, again, have gratitude, love yourself. These are the two things that you can keep doing, showering yourself with love. Take yourself to lunch, take a nice hot shower, hot bath, go get a massage, do something that's going to nurture you and bring you some satisfaction, some peace. But also maybe you need to sit with yourself and find out where the uncomfortable emotions might be coming from. Okay, and what do they present for you? It's an opportunity for growth, and you're like, oh yeah, it's one of those, Deb. It's an opportunity for growth. Thanks. Not as much as that one in April will be, but we'll get there. It's also in my lecture that I gave, my master class about the liminal labyrinth. You'll find it there if you choose. The other thing is that this is the last week of Capricorn. Capricorn is finishing. We are done. On Sunday the 19th, the sun enters Aquarius at 3 p.m. on Sunday the 19th. So Saturn has a lot of power right now. Even though it's in Pisces, Saturn is ruling the sun. When that aspect occurs, Saturn's ruling the sun. And it's something that we have to sort of contend with as we're moving through this week and we start to feel that encroaching Venus-Saturn conjunction. We're moving out of the realm of Saturn, and then we're moving into the realm of Uranus on Sunday the 19th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So just be aware of that shift, and be aware that we're moving into Uranus's domain as we move into Aquarius. And then, of course, the sun is going to conjunct Pluto for the first time that it is solidly in Aquarius. It did this last year. The sun will conjunct Pluto on the 21st, which that's next week. That's not this coming week. And so we are just winding down the Capricorn season this week. So Saturn has more impact. Saturn's going to feel a little stronger. It won't feel like that when we get into April because it's not ruling the sun. It's not ruling the heavens at that time. So it's okay. Then very importantly, back here on Wednesday the 15th this week, the sun in Capricorn opposes Mars in Cancer. Now, as you know, Mars went back into Cancer early last week, and it was, a topic of discussion last week on the podcast because it's going through Cancer for months, and it's not going to go into Leo again until April. So a lot happens in mid-April. But it's January, and we have to focus on the present moment, and the sun is opposing Mars at 9:39 p.m. on Wednesday the 15th. Why is this important? Because this means that Mars is halfway through its retrograde. Yep, already Mars is halfway through its retrograde. It's got another bunch of weeks until it is completely finished, its retrograde. But this is a turning point. And whenever an inner planet is retrograde like this, when it opposes the sun or conjuncts the sun, in Mars's case, it's always the opposition to the sun. Because Mars retrogrades only so far away from the sun, and then it has to come back. So Mars is in the opposition this week, and that's a good sign. You may notice that this is a turning point, that maybe you don't feel the heaviness of the retrograde as you did, say, back in December. Maybe you feel lighter and that you've turned a corner. This is something very important to pay attention to. This Wednesday, as we're moving through this, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you should start to feel that the retrograde half point. Mars is a long retrograde for an inner planet, and thankfully it only happens once every 2 years, so it gives us an opportunity to reflect and obviously revise, review, all those re's, but it does indicate something is shifting and changing in our environment and in our world, in ourselves internally, that we can now turn a corner and just get through the rest of the retrograde. That doesn't mean it's easy street. It means that we're turning a corner, okay? So we're gonna see what the rest of the retrograde holds for us and how we can work with this energy. But since it's gone back into Cancer, now it gets to oppose the sun in Capricorn, and we're not holding on so tightly the way we were, okay? The other thing is, people have asked me, and I got a post from my friend Giselle here today. She sent me a Facebook post about this lineup of planets that they're talking about, this planetary alignment for January 25th, the day after my birthday. And it does not line up in an astrological sense. I guess the way the planets are lining up in the sky through astronomy, they are lining up it will look like they are in a straight line. Planets are never really in a straight line. They might be in a certain section of the sky astronomically. And you can, if you have an astronomy app, like I have Skywalk, I think it's called, it helps you see how that alignment works. When I looked at my astrological wheel for that day, I didn't see anything all lined up. Things are at similar degrees, like 22 degrees, 24 degrees. So they may be connecting with each other in a very interesting way, but not something where I go, oh my God, this is it. It's incredible. So of course the internet is making a lot of this, but I couldn't find it on any astrology websites except one, like Indian Times or something, the India Times, and they were talking about it. But from an astrological vantage point, it's not something that I see happening. It is something that's happening astronomically. So, take it as you will. We'll see what happens on the 25th. I don't think it's not like Pluto and the sun together that we're going to have next week. It's not. So I don't think the world is going to end. I don't think we're going to have all sorts of explosions and things. If I had to talk about what's going on in California, I would attribute it to Mars retrograde in Cancer, ruling up until yesterday the North Node in Aries. And the North Node in Aries was at the 0 Aries point, which is a very important point in the zodiac, because anything cardinal, it's the cardinal axis. So 0 Aries, 0 Libra, 0 Capricorn, 0 Cancer, those are all the cardinal axis points. This is a global story, even though it's happening very locally in one place, and it's about people's homes, Mars and Cancer. So I would say that it got started as a result, like we were aware of it because of these things. If I had to give it an astrological signature, I don't think it has to do with an alignment of planets. So as far as this alignment on the 25th, see how you feel. See what's going on. There's a nice relationship between Venus and Mars that day. There's some other things, like Venus and Mars are going to trine that day, and there's some other things that are working together very smoothly and nicely. But I wouldn't say that this is a day to go hide under the bed or under the covers or anything like that. So don't worry about it if you've been hearing about this. The media often makes more of these astronomical things that we don't even notice sometimes, okay? In the last 24 hours, I have had 2 conversations with people that are telling me how much better they feel since Pluto has gone into Aquarius. So the next time we meet, it will be Aquarius season, and we'll be on the verge of Sun-Pluto conjunction. But I've had a couple of, just in 24 hours, 2 conversations telling me, wow, it's so much better. Life's amazing. I feel so much better. And also how dark it was before that. So remember what I've said numerous times on this podcast, that Pluto in Capricorn felt like a dark time to me. Well, it's not just me. I've got people, friends all over that are saying to me, oh my God, that was dark. 16 years of that was dark. And that was dark, and it was dark. So I've got, a lot of opinions telling me that they think that was just complicated and it was hard. And yeah, it was. And I think now that I'm in a different place here, and we were all in a different place in 2025, looking back on that transition, we had to go through it. We had to go through the Pluto bouncing back and forth between Aquarius and Capricorn, and we all held our own and we all maintained our lives, but it was hard. I would not have predicted hard. I would have said, complicated, challenging. We got to go through it. What is the point of saying this is going to be hard and weeping about it? No, we have to move through it. But hindsight's always 2020. And now I'm looking at this and saying, this is a better time. It feels better. I know Mars is retrograde and it's, uneasy, uncomfortable. And there's a lot going on in the world that is not great. And I don't know that there's ever a time when it's completely clear and free and everyone is happy and there's no strife anywhere in some pocket of the world. So there's a lot to be desired as far as world conditions. But for us emotionally, there's a hope for things to get better as we move through Pluto in Aquarius and we leave behind that Pluto in Capricorn. And it's interesting that just in 24 hours, 2 people said that to me. Boy, that was dark. I agree with that. So to a better time, to a beautiful week ahead, enjoy the node shift. Put your faith where you need to. Enjoy this turning point of Mars and the Sun opposing one another. And be present for your friends and for yourself as Venus approaches Saturn. And stay aware of what that could be for you and how it makes you feel and where you need more love and more encouragement and support. Okay? Because we may have a longer state of this in April. Thank you so much for listening. Gratitude to each and every one of you. A beautiful week ahead. If you need me, at thegoldenastrologer.com, on Instagram, The Golden Astrologer, where I will talk about astrology, among other things. If you'd like a session, click book online at thegoldenastrologer.com, book Reiki, book astrology session, book expansion mentoring, which is a lovely way to start your year, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and join me and learn more about your astrology and how to fall in love with your life. A beautiful week ahead. Thank you so much. Gratitude and blessings to each and every one of you.